In this video, we're going to go over what I think are the three most useful components in Material UI. If you want to build a sleek and modern looking website with Material UI, stay tuned and find out. So before we get into the details about each component, let's first make sure the Material UI is installed in our project. This is going to be the same React project we've been working on in the past couple of videos. So these are the installation instructions. We're going to want to make sure these three npm packages are installed into our project. There's going to be a link to these installation instructions in the description below. Okay, so the Material UI packages have been installed. Now if we come back to our application, since the last time we've removed some of the custom Vite stylings. This is a React project scaffolded with Vite, and for the purposes of this demonstration, we've now changed our homepage to this dashboard component, which is empty. This is where the demonstration on the three elements is going to be given. There's going to be a link to the code in the description below, and just know that the code could change from this video to what it ends up being. This will be a full dashboard in the future. Right now, we're just going to demo these three components, but I can guarantee you that these three components are still going to be used in the dashboard in the future. The first component we're going to go over is the grid component. The grid component really is what's responsible for laying out the page in Material UI. So the general thinking is that a container can contain up to 12 columns across in simple terms, right? So if you think of your page as 12 columns across, each item inside takes up a width on the screen. So let's say we want to put a card, 66% across the screen, which 8 would be, and then another one, the last third, we put another card, right? So you can give that a width of 8 and a width of 4, and that is actually how anything inside of it would be lined up. So you can see that this is just the text S equal 8. That's what appears on this side. SX equals 4 appears on the other side, right? So that's a great part. You can lay out the page, but this is really the kicker, and what makes it great is the responsiveness. So in this case, you can actually set multiple breakpoints. So XS is when the screen is small, and MD is when it's medium length. There's a large length. There's all different breakpoints based on your screen width, and that changes the container size. So in our case, when the screen is large, this takes up 8 out of the 12, this takes up 4 of the 12. But when the screen shrinks down, and I'll show you this in a second, this is going to be half and this is going to be half, because as the screen is XS, or extra small as it denotes, it becomes half and half, just like it does here. The next component, as you can see on the left, is the typography component. And this is really the best way to display text with Material UI. So the typography component has a bunch of different variants that control the text size on a screen. So it's very similar to a feature like Microsoft Word, where you have control over your headings and your subtitles. You have full control over that when using Material UI as well. So if we look at the source code here, we can see as you go down the page, if you just change the variant on this component, you can get all different types of text that you want all out of the box. And this allows for a completely consistent design across the entire application. Okay, I'm going to show you one more component, and then we're going to put these three components together in a quick example. And this is the third most useful component, in my opinion. This is one of my favorite components. It's the basic card component in Material UI. And there's a lot of different variants of this, and there's a lot of different ways that you can use them to make your application feel very, very new and sleek, in my opinion. So you can use it like a basic card, right? Put this with a visualization, display some information back to the user. You have outlined options. You have options for a top and a bottom, and pictures and content and actions. There's so many different things that you can do with this card component. Use it to navigate across your application, and there's a ton of different variants. So I find them especially useful for the dashboard, and obviously that video is coming soon, so this is going to be used a lot. Now let's jump into the actual demonstration where we put these three components together. Okay, so let's create our dashboard. We're going to keep this demo super simple and straight to the point. We'll just add an initial grid here with a card and some typography on the cards. So the first thing we're going to do, let's just scaffold out our grid. So we're going to do grid container like we saw, right? This will basically be our layout grid, sort of like the outer wrapper of the grid. Let's add our import, and then as we saw before, let's do grid item. Okay. XS equals 6, so this is going to take up half the page no matter the screen width. Then let's just create one other. XS equals 6. Awesome. Okay, so now let's create a card with some typography in it on the left side. Okay, so let's do card, and let's do some card content. Okay, just that'll give it a little bit of padding. So again, this is the card component, and it has a bunch of subcomponents inside that you can use. So like we saw in the picture, demonstration on their actual website. And then we're going to just do some typography. Let's just give it a variant. Let's just give it one of header 6, let's say. And let's just denote where we are by saying this is the left side of the page. Okay, so this will show the difference between the left and right side of the page on the grid. Okay, and then on the other side, let's not use a card, and we'll just do some typography of, let's do a different variant. Let's say H5, and we can see the different variants of the text that we can use, and we'll just say this is the right side of the page in an H1 header. Okay, now let's go check that out and see what that looks like. Okay, so loading up the page, we can see that on the left side of the page, we have this is the left side of the page, so this is our grid half on the left, and the other half on the right, the XS equals 6. We can see our typography differences here, H6 compared to H5. We can use any of our variants, just the way to keep all that text consistent across your application is, as you can see this little padding here, we just have this simple card, this raised card that we're going to use everywhere on our dashboard to show our visuals. Cards are awesome. So these are the 3 most used components in Material UI. You're going to use them everywhere. Use these all across your application, and you will build a better, sleeker website altogether. And we're going to get into a future video where we really build this dashboard out.